Canto 14, Circle 7, Round 3. The Violence Against God, Nature, and Art. Synopsis. Dante, in pity, restores the torn leaves to the soul of his countrymen, and the poets move on to the next round, a great plain of burning sand, upon which there descends an eternal slow rain of fire. Here, scorchers by fire from above and below are three classes of sinners, suffering different degrees of exposure to the fire. The blasphemers, the violent against God, are stretched supine upon the sand. The sodomites, the violence against nature, run in endless circles, and the usurers, the violence against art, which is the great child of God, huddle on the sands. The poet finds Capaneus stretched out in the sands, the chief sinner of that place. He's still blaspheming God. They continue along the edge of the woods of the suicides and come to a blood-red rill which flows boiling from the wood and crosses the burning plain. Virgil explains the miraculous power of its waters, and discourses on the old man of Crete and the origin of all rivers of hell. The symbolism of the burning plain is obviously centered in sterility, the desert image, and wrath, the fire image. Blasphemy, sodomy, and usury are all unnatural and sterile actions. Thus, the unbearing desert in eternity for these sinners, and thus the rain, which is in nature should be fertile and cool, descends as fire. Capaneus, moreover, is subjected not only to the wrath of nature, the sands below, and the wrath of God, the fire from above, but is tortured most by his own inner violence, which is the root of blasphemy. Text. Love of that land that was our common source moved me to tears. I gathered up the leaves and gave them back. He was already hoarse. We came to the edge of the forest where one goes from the second round to the third, and there we saw what fearful arts the hand of justice knows. To make these new things wholly clear, I say, we came to a plain whose soil repels all roots. The wood of misery rings in the same way the wood itself is ringed by the red fosse. We paused at its edge. The ground was burning sand, just a waste of Canto marched across. O endless wrath of God, how utterly thou shalt become a terror to all men who read the frightful truths revealed to me. Enormous herds of naked souls I saw, lamenting till their eyes were burned of tears. They seemed condemned by an unequal law. For some were stretched supine upon the ground, some squatted with their arms around themselves, and others without pause roamed round and round. Most numerous were those that roamed the plain. Far fewer were the souls stretched on the sand, but moved to louder cries by greater pain. And over all the sand on which they lay, or crouched or roamed, great flakes of flame fell slowly as snow falls in the Alps on a windless day. Like those Alexander met at the hot regions of India, flames raised from the sky to fall still unextinguished on his legions. Whereat he formed his ranks, and their head set the example, trampling the hot ground for fear the tongues of fire might join and spread. Just so in hell descended the long rain upon the damned, kindling the sands like tinder under their flint and steel, doubling the pain. It never ended fit upon the sands, the arms of the damned twitching all about their bodies, now here, now there, brushed away the brands. Poet, I said, master of every dread we have encountered, other than those fiends who sallied from the last gate of the dead, who is this wrath who lies upon the rim and sets his face against the fire in scorn, so that the rain seems not to mellow him? And he himself, hearing what I had said to my guide and lord, concerning him replied, what I was living, the same I am now, dead. Though Jupiter wear out his sooty smith, from whom on my last day he snatched in anger the jagged thunderbolt he pierced me with, though he wear out the others one by one, whose labor at the forge of Montebello, crying again, help, help, help me, good Vulcan, as did the Pleiagra, and hurled down endlessly with all power of heaven in his arms, small satisfaction would he win from me. At this my guide spake with vehemence, and I had not heard from him in all of hell. O Capaneus, by your insolence you are made to suffer as much fire inside as falls upon you. Only your own rage could be fit torment for your sullen pride. Then he turned to me more gently. That, he said, was one of the 7 who lay siege in Thebes. Living he scorned God, and among the dead he scorns him yet. He thinks he may detest God's power too easily, but as I told him, his slobber is a fit badge for his breast. Now follow me, and mind your own good. You do not step upon the burning sand, but keep well back along the edge of the wood. We walked in silence, till then we reached the rill that gushes from the wood. It ran so red, the memory sends a shudder through me still. As from Vulcan springs the stream, the sinful woman keep to their own use, so down the sand the rill flowed out in steam. The bed and both its banks were petrified, as were its margins. Thus I knew at once our passage through the sand lay by its side. Among all other wonders I have shown you, since we came through the gates denied to none, nothing your eyes have seen is equal to the marvel of the rill by which we stand, for it stifles the flames above the course, and it flows out across the burning sand. So spake my guide across the flickering light, and I begged him to bestow on me the food for which he had given me the appetite. In the middle of the sea, and gone to waste, there lies a country known as Crete, he said, under whose king the ancient world was chase. Once Rhea chose it as the secret crypt and cradle of her son, and better to hide him, her Carbonarites raised a din when he wept. An ancient giant stands in the mountain core. He keeps his shoulder turned towards Demetra, and looks towards Rome as if it were his mirror. His head is made of gold, of silverwork, his breast and both his arms of polished brass, the rest of his great torso to the fork. He is of chosen iron from there down, except that his right foot is terracotta, for it is foot he rests more weighs upon. Every part except the gold is split by a great fissure from what endless tears drip down the hollow of his mountainous pit. Their course sinks to the pit from stone to stone, becoming a carrion, flagellum, and Styx. Then by the marrow slopes they hurtle down to the ends of all the descent and disappear into Cactus. You shall see what sinks there with your own eyes. I pass it in silence here, and I to him. But if these waters flow from the world above, why is it this rill met only along the shelf, and he to me? You know the place is round, and though you have come deep into the valley, into the many circles, always bearing left among the steep, you have not traveled any circle through its total round. Hence when new things appear from time to time, that's hardly should surprise you. And I, where shall we find Figleron's course and Leith's? Once you would omit, and the other you only say the tear flooded is its source. In all you ask of me, you please me truly, he answered. But the red and boiling water should answer the first question you put to me, and you shall stand by Leith. But far hence, there, when the spirits go to wash themselves, when the guilt has been removed by penance. And then he said, now it is time to quit this edge of shade. Follow closer after me along the rill, and do not stray from it. For the unburning margins form a lane, and by them we may cross the burning plain.